Today I'm going to be outside doing some quick sketches with pencil and paper. And it's real important, whether you're drawing or painting, to do a lot of work outside or from life as much as possible. I know we all use photography. Photography is real important. I use it all the time. But when it comes to learning and understanding what's really there as far as values and colors go, you really can't beat working outside. Even if what you do outside never turns out, even if you're never happy with it, just the idea that you're out there looking at the real thing, trying to decipher real values, real color, as opposed to photographic color, it really improves your studio work. So I'm going to go outside and do some quick sketches, maybe minute and a half drawings with some figures and using pencil and paper. Now this is what I'm going to be using outside. This is the sketchbook here I'm using. I'm going to use a little bit bigger one. Usually use smaller ones outside because I'm doing smaller thumbnail drawings. But here I'm doing figures. And I want to keep the figures kind of small. And a bigger sketchbook just gives me more room to work around. Now this has a gray half to it. The first half of the paper or the sketchbook is a gray paper. And this helps me do 3 value drawings. In other words, the gray paper is the halftone, the white Conte crayon pencil is the light, and then the graphite or sometimes charcoal is the shadow. And that helps me reduce everything to 3 values and makes it much easier to paint. And that's the point of these thumbnail drawings. The other half of the sketchbook is a white paper where I'm just using graphite or some other drawing pencils. No white, because white wouldn't show up on the white paper. So I'm pretty much trying to see things in terms of 2 values, a simple light and a simple dark. Now there is a lot of halftone in there. See if I have one that's more just simple dark and light. This one here, pretty much a shadow value and the shadow pattern and then the white of the paper for the lights. And that helps me simplify of just finding those simple dark and light patterns, how to compose them, how to change things around a little bit if I need to, and it prepares me for the painting. Now what I'll be drawing with, this is the drawing box here I take with me. This is a kneaded eraser. I'll be doing, hopefully, not much erasing at all. If I draw light enough at first, I don't need the kneaded eraser. Sometimes I'll use pen. These are micron pens. I got 3 different sizes from smaller to slightly bigger. They're very helpful to work with. Here is the white pastel chalk pencil I use for the gray paper. For the drawing, I'm going to be using a Prismacolor ebony pencil. And they are really, really dark and work really well. I always have enough lead showing that I don't have to constantly stop and sharpen all the time. That'll stay through several drawings before I have to do something to it. So that's what I'll be using, not the white and not the pen, but the ebony pencil. And again, any kind of graphite pencil will do. I prefer 6B, 8B, 4B at the least. The higher up you go with the B pencils, the darker and heavier the graphite is. And then you get into the HBs and H drawing pencils, and they're very light and very hard, and I don't use those much at all. So let's get going outside. So what I'm going to do today is draw outside, just outside the studio, do some quick sketches, and I will be using figures, but the figures I'll be doing are chickens. Here's our chicken coop here. If you've listened to some of my videos, you've heard these roosters, at least anyway, and here they are. Now they're a really good subject to do for quick sketches. Now they don't hold still, but the fact that they don't hold still forces me to simplify what I'm looking at and really observe the shape. So here they are. There's, I don't know, 27 of them, I think. And they're roaming around here. A lot of nice shadow patterns, dark and light shapes within the chickens. And these are for the quick sketches here. They're going to be roaming around. Once I stand still and start drawing, they slow down just a little bit, make it a bit easier. Now in here will be the long poses. This is where the chickens don't move. So I could bring a chair in here and sit and do a nice long pose drawing or painting of a chicken, because they are not going to move. They're there nesting on eggs, and even over here. I can get different angles, get different lighting conditions, and they're just not going to move. So these are my long poses, which I could spend, I don't know, 15, 20, 25 minutes doing maybe a full value drawing of these. So coming back in here, I'm going to set up and start drawing. So I'm going to sit down right here close to the feeding machine and the watering thing. Let them get settled. They're curious enough that they'll be around. Okay, chickens will stay around me as long as I have something to feed them. So I have a little bit of grass here. Makes them come around and I can get some better views of them. Here's a few I've done already, and you can see they're just gesture sketches. It's scribbling, and I'll do some in a minute and show you kind of the thought process and what I'm after. But I'm not after a finished drawing. I'm after the gesture or kind of the movement of the chicken. And I start off with a scribbled gesture line and get the basic shape, and then I go for more of a shadow pen. So there's chickens moving around. I'm going to throw out a bit more feed. They love grass, so they will come running. And as they're eating, I'm going to start drawing. And there's some foreshortening also, which I like about the chickens. That real lightly, I'm just scribbling, and I'm putting the pencil down on the paper, and I'm not picking it up. I'm just keep moving it around. So don't keep picking up the pencil and putting it down. Just move it around until you it's kind of like searching out the volume of the shape instead of an outline. No, I come back and use outline, but I use that gesture line to search the volume. Yeah, this looks more like a buzzard than a chicken, but basic idea here. So I'm going to do some more. And I just look for a few seconds. And of course, they are moving constantly, but I am able to kind of get an image in my head of what they're doing. Now this chicken's already gone, but I've got an image in my mind of what she was doing. You can see I'm looking for gesture instead of perfect outline. And if they hang around long enough, there's always several of them that are close to the same position that I can come back and always find a chicken that has a suggestion of what's there. Then a little bit of where the shadow is falling on them. Try another one here. There's a big rooster over here crowing. And if I'm quick enough on this gesture, I can get the idea. There he goes again. And if I wait long enough, there's always one that kind of gets back into this pose. You can see I'm not looking for that perfect line. I'm looking for just a suggestion of what the action is doing. I'm going to pull out the eraser here. Get better placement on the feet. I'm looking at the feet now. The rooster's no longer in that position, but there's several. Unfortunately, we have several roosters that they're in close to that pose. And also, it forces you to realize that you're not trying to be perfect. And since they're constantly moving, I'm just trying to get the idea or the gesture of what in this case, the rooster is doing. Neck should probably be a little bit longer. Now they've all kind of moved over into the corner, so I'm going to pull out some more grass for them, and they'll see this, and they will come running. They are cheap models. And while they're here, I'll get another one drawn. And again, they're pretty much gone in a few seconds, the pose. But if I stare for 5 or 6 seconds at what the chicken is doing, and there's always that foreshortening that the body here is in front of the head and neck, and then the tail feathers are in front of the body. So there's overlapping, there's foreshortening, and that's what I want to pick up here. Another one moving over here. And it takes a while to get used to it, drawing like this, quick sketches. In art school, we'd have a model that would do 10-second poses. And that was good practice because it really taught you to look for the basic action of the figure right away and not at the detail. Now I'm looking at another chicken now where I can see the same leg, how it kind of stretches out. But this, again, keeps me from being too detailed. I really don't need to worry about shadow pattern, I think, on these, but I'm going to put a big pattern, not small shadow shapes, but big ones, just to kind of help show the form a little bit more. Got one right here, so I'm going to draw her while she's kind of looking down. She's waiting for me to drop another blade of grass. They like grass for some reason, not sure why. Again, trying to get the action. The bird's gone now, but I have my mind's eye a little bit of what was going on. And there's another one coming along, so pretty much in the same pose. Again, I'm looking for that overlapping, that foreshortening, the head and neck in front of the body, and the head and neck in front of the bottom part of the torso. Very loud. Finding that big shadow pattern. But the scribbling is real important. Not scribble for scribble's sake, but just looking for a basic shape and filling in the shape quickly. Kind of finding the volume, moving the pencil around. I got a circle shape here, the shape for the tail feathers, head. And this chicken's holding pretty still. These are buff Warpington chickens. Don't know much about them except for just what they are. Come from England, supposedly. And they're big. A lot of yellow, yellow-orange. I'll be doing some color sketches soon as well. Now I'm pressing down harder to get more of a definite line. Got a rooster over here that's holding pretty still. It's real tempting to get detailed. But the more I can just get a quick suggestion down there first, the better. And again, the purpose of this is just to sharpen my eye for observation, seeing shape, and forcing myself to really simplify it. With a photograph, I could spend all day on one chicken. But here I have to simplify and put down just what's important. I got one coming right at me. So I'm going to do the extreme foreshortening. All right, well that will do it. Chickens are a great figure to practice with. A little noisy, but very good to work with. Forcing me to simplify and see basic shapes instead of outline. Stay tuned to part 2, where I'll be doing a color study from the drawings of my chickens.